Story 1. Sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I get this weird sense that I'm tiny inside my body, but my hands and arms feel enormous. I've always wondered if anyone else has ever experienced this, knew what this strange phenomenon was called, or if anyone could explain why this happens. Story 2. I saw a Japanese cartoon once about a girl who had a small animal on her shoulder. She had to save the world from a red demon monster. She was assisted by huge creatures that looked like potato bugs, pill bugs, that had about 20 eyes which were normally blue, but turned red when angry. I'd love to see it again. I can't find it. It makes me feel like I hallucinated the whole thing. Does anyone know? Story 3. Is there a name for when a song has a usually long title that has nothing to do with the song itself? As in, does not relate to the subject matter of the song, is not a lyric, etc. Story 4. How is it that you can go an entire day holding your pee with little discomfort, but as soon as you put your key into your front door, you've got to squeeze with all your might to keep the floodgates from opening? Story 5. How do people cut their nails in jail? Do they give you scissors or clippers? Do you need to do it under supervision? Do you bite your nails? I have tried to look for an answer on Google, but with little luck. Story 6. Finally, I hope I'm not too late, because this has been bothering me for years. Why is the large bread cheaper than the small bread in Houston? It's the exact same bread. Same ingredients, same taste, same size slices, everything. The only differences are, the large is longer, more slices. The large is less expensive. That's it. This is the case in every grocery store I've seen in Houston. Kroger, Randall's, Target, even Walmart. The small bread is always more expensive and has been for years. There is no conceivable reason anyone should be buying the small bread here. Even if you kept your bread in an oddly short bread basket, it would be cheaper to just buy the large loaf and throw out a few slices. And don't say it's something about scale. That doesn't add up. If it was cheaper to produce the large loaves, then they'd stop producing the small loaves. It's the exact same bread. The exact same bread. Help me, Reddit. Story 7. So there's this picture that is one of the default wallpapers that comes with Windows 10. It has a green tent pitched in the forest with a shot of the Milky Way in the sky. Does anyone know where this was taken? I spent a couple of hours searching the other day, but just couldn't find out. Story 8. Do all people, as they grow older, eventually start to hear phantom sounds like whooshing, whining, or ringing? Is it natural with aging, or do just some people get it no matter what age? Like tinnitus. Story 9. I can do this weird thing. I honestly can't explain it any better than I can make myself feel like I'm being electrocuted or falling. All I have to do is concentrate and I can make it happen. Does anyone have an idea of what this thing I have is called? Edit. I got so many replies I can't keep up with them. I mainly feel it in my hips and spine. Vaccinate your kids and stay in school. Story 10. There's a song, maybe by Bright Eyes, with a lyric along the lines of "You're mad at me for the things I did in your dreams," or "I want to say sorry for the things I did in your dreams. Google cannot help me. I just want to listen to the song. Rippin' Fish did it. Trusted by Ben Folds. Thank you, everyone." Story 11. If you fart in a jar, seal it up really tight, and put it away on a shelf, would you be able to smell the fart if you open the jar a month later? 1 year? 10 years? Story 12. Does anyone have any information about Project Oregon Trail, a classified war game scenario from the 60s that led the Pentagon to conclude that massive retaliation was a doomed scenario and thus led to the third offset and air-land battle doctrine? I only know it exists because it slipped out in a think tank talk about air-land battle that I watched, and it's literally impossible to find anything about it because it's a classified nuclear war game scenario, and Google is full to the brim with results about the proto-role-playing game. I really want to know what the analysis said. Story 13. In the late 80s, there was a series of Betamax tapes I found at my local library. They contained a show about spacefaring puppets portrayed by astronauts. Things I remember: there were several episodes, maybe even 2 seasons. They looked creepy, especially around the eyes. There was one episode where there was some sort of dark entity on the ship, and the suspense was intense. Edit. I had to stop working and check it out quickly. It's definitely Terrahawks. You all restored a 30-year-old memory. thank you. Edit 2, Dr. Pink Cream not only found the series, but the precise episode that gave me chills. Thank you so much. Story 14. There was a video of a greasy old man pulling his mouth open to make this hideous goat noise. My husband and I can no longer find it. Can you read it? Story 15. My dog's coat has started to smell like brownies in the last 2 months. His diet hasn't changed, and I've bathed him since, and it still smells. I'm definitely not complaining because it's much more pleasant than dog smell, but can anyone tell me why? Edit. It's his flea collar. I put it on him around the same time he started smelling like this. Can't believe I didn't think of it. Thanks for all the info, guys. Here's a picture of my brownie boy Mars. Story 16. What language consumes the fewest calories? For example, if reading War and Peace out loud in English burned 1,000 calories, would reading it out loud in Spanish, word for word, burn 1,300 calories? Story 17. What is the actual object that is used to make the bite sound in cartoons? All I have ever seen was some reference to Foley sounds, not the actual thing used. Story 18. Why does my cat demand running water in the bathroom sink to pee and poop? Google has left me feeling alone with my weird, water-obsessed cat. She always has clean, fresh kitty litter, which she'll use if we aren't around. But when we're home, she'll meow at us until we turn the water on for her. Please tell me she's not the only one. Story 19. How does eating specific protein supplements like collagen help with specific things like hair and nail growth? Do not all proteins that we eat get broken down into individual amino acids, or tripeptides at most, before being absorbed anyway? Story 20. How old is too old to consider trying to be a runner or a production assistant on a film set in order to open a door to your dream career path? Asking for a friend, of course. Wow, I can finally be that person who needs to update their post and say I was not expecting this to have the reaction it has. I've not long woken up, so I'm going through all the messages as best I can. Thank you to everyone for your replies. They are so helpful, and I'm so appreciative of the support and assistance. Story 21. I once read that there is a term for how certain words gradually become offensive if they are used to describe, for example, people with mental problems. Originally, words like idiot and retarded were not offensive. They were medical terms for someone with limited cognitive function. But eventually people start using those terms as insults, and so you have to change the medical term because it's weird to call someone with Down syndrome an idiot. What's the term for this? Can probably be Googled, but I've tried with no luck. Story 22. What was the alcohol percentage of ancient Greek wines? Edit. Like a few people pointed out, the answer is easy to find on the English version of Google, but I was using the Dutch one. Thank you for the answers anyway. Story 23. There was a cartoon in the 90s. I don't remember a lot of it, but there was a chick, an actual bird, with his parents, and the antagonist was a fox who constantly wanted to eat the chick. One of the episodes had a song that went wings and drumsticks, drumsticks and wings. It isn't polite to eat living things. Does anyone remember the name of this show? I think it would be at the obscurity level of The Wacky World of Tex Avery and Pompeii Pete. Found it. It's a segment from Tex Avery called Maurice and Mooch. All credit goes to CStock77, that was impressive. Story 24. A British TV commercial from the early 2000s, possibly late 1990s. The setting is two guys sitting on a bench, one speaking English and a Finnish guy not understanding and simply repeating Finland over and over again. I can't remember what it was advertising, and Google is failing me when I look for it. Any help? Story 25. There was this amazing-looking programming language mentioned on Reddit once, where the documentation is the code. It was a fancy-looking web-based editor. I'm wondering what it was called and how it is going. Story 26. Okay, here we go. Why cannot human babies do anything at all? All other animal babies that I can think of can at least do something. Many can walk soon after being born, but I understand why humans cannot because that is complicated. Human babies cannot crawl either, which is still understandable but a little less acceptable. They cannot roll over, which is just getting suspicious at this point. But the real kicker is that they cannot even lift their own head up. What kind of nonsense is that? As far as I know, correct me if I am wrong, Ape babies can at least grab onto their mother while she is walking around. Human babies scream and cry constantly, and I have never seen an ape baby do such a thing. Which means that at some point we split off and human babies became worse or ape babies became better, in my opinion. Not to offend any babies around here, but human babies are literally the worst in terms of usefulness out of all the animals as far as I know. Somebody please explain. Or if you cannot explain, then at least tell me about a different animal baby that is worse. Story 27. I'm often curious about how popular certain songs from decades ago were in other countries. I am Australian. For example, I can use Google to see that a song that was huge here reached number 16 on the US Billboard charts in 1994, but that doesn't tell me how many people out of 100 would instantly recognize it today. Thanks, everyone. There were some useful ideas and interesting discussions. The reason I'm curious is that I take part in a song parody competition that is mostly US listeners, and the song choice is always tricky for me unless I'm choosing something that was a surefire global hit. It isn't always easy to figure out by Wikipedia statistics alone. Story 28. Apart from Macau, where can one receive free money from the government? I am asking this because Macau's government gives everyone $10,000 this year. I meant a universal cash handout for everyone regardless of age, gender, or income. Macau is one of the few places that does this because its GDP per capita is one of the highest on Earth. I am curious if any other countries follow suit. For those asking about tax refunds, income tax rates in Macau are relatively low, 5 to 7%, and the Macau government gives a 60% tax refund anyway. Water and power are also subsidized. Education and healthcare are free. Story 29. I'm nearsighted. How come objects in my rearview mirrors are blurry as if they're far away without my glasses, when the reflection itself is close to me? Story 30. If you have had a stroke, why are you now considered more likely or at higher risk to have another stroke? Individuals who have experienced a stroke are at higher risk of having another one due to several factors. After a stroke, there are often underlying health issues such as hypertension, diabetes, or high cholesterol that remain inadequately managed, increasing the likelihood of a recurrent stroke. Damage from the initial stroke may also impair blood flow or increase the likelihood of blood clots, further elevating risk. Scientific evidence supports this increased risk. According to the American Heart Association, the risk of having another stroke is highest immediately after the first stroke and gradually decreases over time. Studies have shown that within 5 years of a first stroke, 24% of women and 42% of men will experience a recurrent stroke. Effectively managing these underlying conditions and adopting a healthy lifestyle can help reduce the risk of stroke recurrence. Story 31. Are there any surviving pieces of ancient Greek clothing still around? I have tried searching variations of this question, but I can't seem to find an answer. Story 32. This doesn't answer the question, but is related. I had a couple of steer calves that had warts on their scrotums a few weeks ago. So sweet little innocent me wanted to search online to see if other people had this issue, what they did, etc. Well, if you search for terms like steer scrotal warts or something like that, you end up getting unwanted images of male genital warts. So many accidental, inappropriate pictures. We ended up taking them to the veterinarian to have them removed, but the search engine failed me that time. Story 33. I've been looking for the theme song of Star Trek. The Next Generation played at half speed. Last I heard it was for some awards ceremony. I can't find it anywhere, not even on YouTube. Although I found one played at 400% slower, it's not the same. Just thought to add that it was orchestrated at half tempo, not digitally altered. Story 34. What does the Portuguese word "hudish" mean? It's usually used as an exclamation, like how we would say, "Oh, fuck." My family uses it all the time, but no one can answer when asked the actual meaning. Story 35. When you read a newspaper, you tend to believe all the stories. If there was a story about you, you would know the bits that are false and get upset at the paper for being so inaccurate. But as soon as you turn the page, you go back to assuming the words are all accurate. I read once that this is a known thing, a phenomenon maybe, or some sort of bias, but I don't know if it has a name. Story 36. At the Olympics and World Cup, There always seems to be somebody in the crowd waving an Israeli flag when the camera comes near them, regardless of whether there is an Israeli athlete or team playing. Most often, there is no Israeli participation in the event. Why is that? Is he a professional flag waver? Story 37. How do 9-banded armadillos mate? I read that they are the only animals other than humans and bonobos that mate in the missionary position. When I tried to confirm that, I ended up in a big loop. All the published sources for this information lead back to an article called "Armadillos Make Me Smile a Lot" in the Audubon Journal. I called the author, and he said he got this information from the same place I did, a random leaflet a person affected by leprosy had collected, which is now on display at the National Hansen's Museum, a previous leper colony. I called the San Diego Zoo, I called research labs, and no one seems to have ever seen a 9-banded armadillo mate. It's been 4 years since I first went down this rabbit hole, and I still search for it sometimes to see if there is any new published information. But all I can ever find is that fact without good sources, and pictures and videos of 6-banded armadillos mating. Edit. It occurs to me that this story sounds ridiculous, but it's true, and it's been driving me crazy for years. I will send $10 to anyone who can provide video or photo evidence of these animals mating.